I'm handing over to Kieran. This presentation, lads, will rock your world. It's bird and peddling.
What an endorsement! Wow. Um, folks, firstly, thank you so much for spending your evening with me. I am Ciarán. I am the senior content and social media strategist at Warner Music Ireland. If you look to the embarrassing photo on the right, you will see the time I played Ireland Music Week. So I am one of ye. I have been through exactly where you are. I've been to all the workshops, all the amazing panels. Yeah, so I've been there, and basically what this kind of little presentation is to help artists kind of delve into the world of social media, audience, community, all these kind of things, and make it your own. Now if I can click, aha. So this is just a quick introduction. So one thing that is really, really important about socials and kind of how we look at socials as artists, or particularly our ethos when we work with artists at Warner Music. Socials can be seen as an extension of your artistic identity, which is a really important thing for any artist. So, really, what we're going to look at today is building your community, share your music, and there's no one way. There's no right or wrong. There's only expect like showcasing your art. Um, so there's questions. You don't have to answer this, but these are just questions for yourselves to think about when you approach social media. So it's like, who here likes social media? I imagine no musician here likes social media because that is generally the kind of answer I get. Who do you follow on social media? Is it musicians, is it creatives? What content? What are you bringing into your creative space and kind of, filling your time with? And also who here, this is just something examined for yourself. Who here is using social media to find music? Is it a discovery platform? How do you find your artists that you love? Is it through social media? Also, we're going to leave plenty of time at the end for individual social questions. So please just ponder these and add it on. Um, so, why is social media important? Why, as a creative and a musician, should you be on social media? Well, number one, 82% of Gen Z and 70% of millennials find new music via social media and UGC video. UGC is user generated content. So that's like, just people making videos or you posting on your Instagram stories. Nearly 40% of these fans follow their favorite bands on social media, which is a lot, which showcases a powerful thing. It's not only for finding your music, but to see you're up to. 49% of internet users watch music videos weekly, which is pretty amazing. And since its launch, TikTok has had over 1 billion add to music app track saves, which is amazing. So like that is a huge volume of people. And just to give you an idea of Ireland as well, 4.26 million and 80% of our population. There's 4. Ireland social users has over 4 million users, and that's 80% of our population. Then just the MDMA media fandom report. It's a really good report. You guys should check out. Talks about music and social media. Flags that people prefer staying on TikTok to engage versus going off platform for streaming discovery. They will listen to stream your music at some point, but they prefer, let's say if you're scrolling social media and they see like, an artist doing a cover, they're more likely to watch another cover and stay on platform rather than going directly off platform. So that's why it's important to be on it. And just to touch on some really basic ones of social platforms to consider. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Discord, Substack, Facebook. Yes, it's still around. Twitch, Letterbox. These are all social platforms. Even reviewing your favorite restaurant. These are all things where you can build community, build your audience. I mean, Charlie XCX is on Letterbox like every day. She's making videos about it. She's building community there. These are kind of platforms. Social media doesn't have one fit. You don't have to do a TikTok dance or an Instagram dance. It can be anything you want. Also, if you would like to take a screenshot of this, this would be handy. Know your resource platform. So these are just platforms and things that platforms offer to help kind of artists in terms of their development. So, if you want to take a screenshot, there's the UK and Ireland artist newsletter that's free for everyone. The US artist newsletter that you can get your hands on. The 2025, it will be now 2026 when hopefully it comes out. Artist playbook. The TikTok behind the song playbook, Instagram, it's creators IG account, the creators website, YouTube, it's YouTube for artists, YouTube for creators, Snapchat, creators for Snapchat, Discord community, and then for editing, you got CapCut, Edits, Canva. These are just really simple things. They're around. Use them. They're good crack. Also, just to touch on briefly as well, we had our introduction, but kind of my personal ethos when I start working with a musician one-on-one, whether they be a global superstar or a local artist, is, music is more than just vibrations. Musicians are more than just a song. And that's how I view social media. Particularly when artists come up to me and they're like, I'm allergic to social media. Oh my God, I could never post anything. The key point is that you have worked so hard on creating this music. Why not give it its best chance to find an audience? You engage with stuff on social media. You find fashion tips. You find all these things through social media. Why not give your music the same opportunity on via socials? So we're just going to run through some really simple pillars. There are four pillars. Number one is creative expression. Two is comfort and experimentation. Three is explore. And four is invite. So just to break down kind of these pillars in terms of creative expression, because that is really, a lot of people view these platforms as these algorithms as things that, oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm not, engaging with a trend, or I'm not, part of the algorithm. Whereas really what artists should be looking at these platforms is getting them to work for you. They are an extension of your artistic presence. Your art matters. It's a place to put your art. That is really what this is. And the algorithm will work around you. Um, and it'll format it. So firstly, whenever I sit down with an artist, I was like, well, what do you want your social presence to say about you, about this single release, about this music? It can change and evolve with every release. You're not a static artist. You don't have to stay the same. What type of artist are you on socials? The story. What is the story of this music? What do you stand for? What are your interests? How would a potential, this is a really fun thing to do as well with your friends. How would a potential fan describe your music to their friend? How would your friends say, what is my music? Or, oh my God, have you heard of this band? Like, Stevie is like, Thumper, they fucking rock. Like, they're kind of like different, that's how someone would describe it. And also, does that show in your creative online? Does your ethos come across in your social presence? And what does this release have to say to the world of music? Also, another thing that's really, really important when people go, I'm allergic to social media, I would never post anything. Availability. Please don't be selfish with your music. Make sure your music is available to use on all social platforms. Label original sound so they know what it is. Your music can change someone's day. Just make sure it's available for people to use to tell their story. Because once you put that music out in the world, it belongs to the fans, it belongs to the people. You can improve someone's day. Um, and then, for instance, I went looking for a bunch of your tracks when I kind of had an idea of like the artist list, and I couldn't find some of them because they're all original sounds. So, even if it's not released yet, please let me know. Timestamps. When, for instance, you're uploading, and this is a question obviously for like the digital side, when you're going to DistroKid and all these different places, make sure you've chosen the most impactful timestamp for your social media sound. Get this up in as far as advanced as possible, even as an original sound. Just you can label it. It's really, really simple in terms of social platforms. And also just try different ones. You never know what could be the one that resonates with someone. And usage, one thing as well, that artists, we are in Ireland in particular, we are so good about talking about a track or maybe posting something, but we don't actually use our own sounds. We always use like original sounds. Just make sure you use your own sound on social media. It's really important because the more you use it, the more the way that kind of social media will be able to like organize it pretty much. Yeah, and don't forget about your track when it comes out. A track isn't just a release week. It's not about New Music Friday. It's evergreen. Your art exists forever on those social platforms until they blow them up. Just keep using it. That's really it. You never know. Like a great example of that is kind of like Jordan Adetunji. He kept using Kalani. He's a Northern Irish, songwriter and artist, and he kept using it and ended up getting a Grammy nomination. So um, just on that, pillars, another one is creative expression, visuals. Again, please screenshot these whenever whatever works. You could take it down or I can send them on. When you're thinking about your visuals, again, socials are an extension of your creative visual process. They're obviously, audio as well, but it is the think about them as kind of like, the cut downs of your music videos, of the live moments, they're part of your rollout. So just think about what assets you need in terms of, what you want them to reflect in each release and moment and day. And this is kind of where the strategy comes out. But just think about it. Like I know there's an amazing artist or band called Baby Rat. They have all their socials in purple and that's their vibe. They're like, we are baby rat, we are purple. We have decided we're purple to we're no longer purple. That is a really that's an important thing. They're like, that's our aesthetic. Framing and thumbnail, again, just when you're posting, it's really, really easy. Just make sure that you have a very clear thumbnail, or frame, just to make sure the video is striking. And then let's say if it appears in someone explore page, that it's really, really clear of why they like that, that they can see what this video is about or what makes it interesting. Consistent visual rituals. Again, this goes back Baby Rat with purple, but there's various other ways. So if you have a consistent ritual, think about it as, if there's any Taylor Swift fans, your era almost in a way. So if you have a consistent ritual on your social media, this could be a backdrop. For instance, if you do something consistently, it could be, a ritual that you do in a live show that you record and upload. It could be a color as, Baby Rat purple, a series, or even something silly as something silly you do at the start. Be like, hey, I'm this band. Here's my song. Artists also, if you are allergic to social media and posting as yourself, there's lots of artists who start genre and creative pages. For instance, Lorde had a famous page where she just rated onion rings and was using her music. So she was ranking onion rings. So if you want to do that, or exactly if you want to if you're a big fan of film edits, make a film page, use your own music. We call that alternative scoring. Like do that. You'd be like, oh my God, this would sound amazing over this movie. I'm going to upload it. One thing as well, Ireland, we are particularly bad at live performance. Try to get as much footage from your shows, get it up. Fans are searching for you after a show. They really want to find if you are the band that they just saw. They're also buying tickets. If they discover and see you performing live, they'll be like, holy shit, that band's amazing. I would love to go see them. Live footage. It can be just a friend with an iPhone. Honestly, I work with a ridiculous amount of acts. It's me and an iPhone. Also, what makes visuals engaging? Just think about the elements of your creatives that are truly engaging. Just think about what you engage with as an artist. What art draws you in, and why does it draw you in? And incorporate that into the music and what you want to say. Um, Here's some quick examples. Baby Rat with the purple, very purple. You can see Dochi created a kind of basically a series, like a Instagram series where it was a sitcom just for her socials. It's really cool. Fontaine CC decided to go all completely green, but that was a clear decision for that era. So that's the true romance era. That's Fontaine CC. They're really distinguishable, and that's their artistic choice. Florence Road, they're amazing young Irish band I work with, and they literally just picked a camera angle and they were like, cool, we're just going to record everything from up here because it's weird and different and people don't know what's going on. And there's also like Amble, who were just like on a lake, which is quite cool. They were just like, cool, we know our music resonates with this type of backdrop. So we're going to incorporate ourselves into this artistic frame because this is what people imagine our music is like, or what we imagine our music is like. You can see various ones live. This is an artist that are at Music Week talking about their vlog, live performance, even having like something as weird as Golden Bug did, where they just had like basically their profile picture is a bug and then their stories are insects. Like that's great. That's weird. Who knows? That is perfect. That really makes us like, I want to know what this artist is. This artist is all about bugs. So just to even give you an example of as well, so we're just moving on to the next pillar, which is comfort and experimentation. This is our 50-50 rule. 50% of things should be in your comfort area. I feel comfortable. I feel safe. This is the studio. 50% should be experimenting and exploring creativities on socials and off. This is what content and stuff you read, what inspires you. Try new things. You're an artist. Again, these platforms, even though they're run by massive tech companies, they are somewhere where you can showcase your creativity and make them work for you. So try new things. Your job as an artist is to be, to push the boundary out there. And posting, now you don't have to be on every single social platform, but whatever social platform you do choose to be on, be there actively. And just make sure you're posting regularly. Be there as an artist, show up, engage with fans. Just be there. The more you create, engage, the more you learn. That being said, you're a creative, not a creator. Post with purpose, plan. You can also be a creator in that way, but for most part, I imagine you guys are all about kind of the music, but post with a purpose. If you have something to say, you can share it, but don't put that pressure on yourself of bombarding yourself with daily content, even if it's not going well. Have a plan, it'll save you. Another key thing for artists, bio clarity, who you are. The amount of times I've gone to a gig and I'd be like, holy shit, that artist is amazing. And then they would have the most random, like kind of username where I couldn't find them. And I'd be like, Jesus, I'm never like, and they're like, oh, sorry, my name was like Orange Juice 920. I was like, well, that's not your band name. Who you are, what you do, be clear that you're a musician, links to all shows on all platforms, keep it up to date, really clear, like even, a shot as well, like let's say a headshot or something like that, or a band logo. Is this the act? I just want to be sure, is this the act I saw or I listened to or I streamed? Profile photos, first impressions, they help people find you. Cross sharing, make sure your content is going across. Let's say if you create an asset, make sure it goes up on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube if they're your platforms. Label playlists, highlights, are as Goldbug there, insects. Make it easy for fans to engage with. In that case. Then another one that we're going on to invite, which in brackets is our community. So really what we're looking at social media is an invitation for you, for a person to go on a creative journey with you. And that's how I would look at it. Look at your demographics, even if you're really small. Just have a look. Who are your champions and fans on socials? How are you engaging with them? If you went played a gig and you got like 3 followers from Kerry, that's an interesting thing. People in Kerry might like your music. What insights can you take from your social demographics right now as an artist? Show people your data. It can be your North Star. I remember amazing artist Alvaretti came in and when I was playing Ireland Music Week, and she did the round robin with like all these different people, and she had a binder of her social stats, and she was like, "Oh, I have X amount of engagement in this country. You should book me." So it can be really helpful when you're at that point. Engage. Again, this is engagement not only with fans, with your fellow artists, with people you think are cool. We have a rule as well. Social engagement can take a stranger to a fan and a passive fan to a champion. You really want to discover those, particularly early in your career, those champions of people who are in a pub or at a DJ set or at an after party who are like, I'm going to show you the song because I found them. And also they really sound to me on social media. Repost, comment, create, duet, start conversations as well. Make your audience feel seen. Engagement is the springboard to creativity and engagement. Also collaborate. Ireland is an island, but no artist is. So collaborate. Who are your creative collaborators? Content, music, shows. This can be your friends. Like if someone's good at shooting stuff, if someone is, creates music, these are people around you and resources. And even the people on this call are doing these things or, up for these bursaries, they can be your creative collaborators. The rising tide, you're not as a person, you're not a singular music making machine. Feel free to share music, creative artists, podcasts, things that interest you, tag them. As we say, the rising tide, particularly if they're Irish as well, the rising tide upholds everything. Like a bunch of our artists, like I saw the Cliffords made amazing band, by the way, the Cliffords. Yeah, you should check them out. But they made a playlist of like all Irish acts that were playing, and they tagged every single Irish act, and then every Irish act was on that, reposted it to their stories, and it just built this lovely community. And then also bring it back to the music. The focus of creative content is music as a musician always. And then the final note on just community is build it and they will come. Building a social community opens up everything else. Shows, working with brands, having a community is a powerful thing for an independent artist because either way, I work for a major record label, but if you come in with a social an audience that's already buying your tickets to your shows, buying your merch, streaming, that is a much stronger position to be in for any independent artist. And that is the real benefit of social media for independent artists, is that this is a community that is not beholden to anyone. This is your community. Um, Again, these are just some examples of community. Chaperone replying to a fan, she basically was like, do you have to be on a treadmill and sing, or like how are you learning to sing like that while you're running? So she does it in real time in a video. An amazing artist called 13K who played Ireland Music Week last week flew over to do a DJ set in London because that's his community and it was live. Florence Road, and we put them together with one of our other artists called Somber. They made a video. It was really, really cool. It did quite well. It's like a cross collaboration. We talked about Seema. She literally got a cardboard box and brought it around for people and interviewed people and was like out engaging with fans. And then another one of our artists, Ed Sheeran, set up a vinyl breakfast where he reviewed his vinyls, and he did that from scratch. And he's done stadiums. So if he's trying new things on socials, I mean, what's the harm in you doing it? And then just also really, really quick one, take some screenshot story. I know I'm talking quite fast, but this is just exploring the written keywords. One of the most kind of like persistent questions I get about social media is keywords and hashtags. They're literally just there to figure out what your content is. So it's basically just there to be like, oh, I can put this there. Okay, cool. It allows the algorithm to recognize what it is. Yeah, post text, with personality in the post. You could say what it's about, long or short. Hashtags, key searchable terms, 3 to 6. Yeah, and now they've gone to 5, but depending on what platform. They've limited it to 5, but what depends what platform you're on. They can include relevant key, they can include like, key relevant trends, moments, niche, genres, terms. If you're in a like if you want to use like let's say a text overlay or a text that like leads into Oscar season or something like that, or you want to do hashtag Oscars, feel free to do that. Text overlay, this is a really important one. There's the creative stuff at the start. You know, think of text overlay as a headline, a newspaper headline that on social media that will grab their attention of why they should watch this video. It makes it much easier than just kind of like a blank thumbnail sometimes. Sometimes a thumbnail can be really effective, but no harm in trying it with a text overlay. And if you need inspiration, just look at your favorite artists, creators, moments, or media. Text overlay is just the text that people have on the screen pretty much on their post. Clarity, make sure the message is clear for both current fans and potential fans. Imagine they don't know you on social media, which is I think is a key point because artists, working with artists, you're so in your head about everything. So just imagine everyone, the internet is all strangers, and just make sure you're not leading them astray. Usernames, again, clear and consistent usernames. If Jim Carroll has a band or is a solo artist, Jim Carroll music, that's where I'm searching for. Like, oh, I know he's a musician. And also discovery, be a fan, reverse engineer it. Be a fan. What grabs your attention? What creative content do you like online? Reverse engineer the fan experience because we're all music fans here. Just imagine being that, and that's an ethos you should carry with you. We're just going to move on to actions. Hope everyone's doing okay. Yeah, please, if you're at your thing, or just flag with me. We will have time for questions. So pillars, explore. So these are kind of the actions that you can do day to day. Plan, plan your days, plan your content days, plan your content calendar, vision, brainstorm. A lot of our artists use mood boards when they talk about their music. What assets do you need for this release? Like really, really simple assets. Do I need an acoustic asset? Do I need a lip sync? Do I need live footage? Do I need music video cut downs? When can I get them done? Be realistic about your time. Um, Strategize. How do I get my music in front of potential fans? This is the difference of, really have a think about this. Because again, as a musician, I was like, oh, I'm so shy. My friends, what if they see me on social media? Who cares? Aim for people outside of your friends. Like, fuck them. So basically, just how do you get my music to in front of the potential fans? When do I want to release this music? It's important. Like, is this a winter song, a summer song? What season is this music? Is it morning, evening? Where do my target audience hang out, and what do they do online? Are they into yoga? Like, are they into fashion, sport? What's happening in their world? No one is going to give you a music career. You have to meet your fans where they are. No one is going to go like, oh, they're amazing. Meet your fans where they are. Get in their world and what's going on with them. You're one of them. Resonate with them. Um, CTAs, call to actions, and they can work when timed correctly. So a call to action is like, hey, my song is out now. Please stream it. Hey, I would love to chart. Um, Use them occasionally when it's important, but I wouldn't use them all the time. Um, you know, really what I would build an audience, and then if you see some traction, like keep the goodwill of your fans until you really need them to stream or buy something, like a show or like to get a charting single. Curiosity, test content, try different things, experiment, reuse content in different ways. Um, in Ireland, we don't you reuse content. Feel free to edit it. If you have a music video that's cut down for socials, just use them again. Your music does not go away after 1 week. Use it again. You've made some amazing music. Revisit the stuff. And also just study platforms. Study what people are posting, study what goes viral, what does well. Also relevancy. Leaning into a moment is okay when it's apt to do so. Don't do it all the time, but being reactive is okay when there is a trend and a moment in pop culture. So we're talking about I remember there was the Fleetwood Mac trend of like, it's really important. Or 5 years ago, it was someone said I should join a band, and it's really important that I did. Trends like that. If it's relevant for you, lean in. If it's not, views and likes, sometimes people can go really viral for a non-music related thing, and then that just makes it, in some cases, harder for them to push their music. So yeah, be aware of that as well. And also outcome. What is the aim for this release? Is it to get 10 more TikTok followers? Is it to get, 10,000 streams? Is it to get playlisting? Is it to play Ireland Music Week? Is it to get Jim Carroll to write about your music? There's all these different things. Just have an outcome and an idea of what your aim is. And it can be big or small. It can be a range of things across socials, across, live music, all these different things. I also would take a screenshot of this one. I won't go through all of them, but basically the University of California had 12 A's to ask. Well, sorry, they actually had 5 A's to ask about yourself from their content and digital marketing course, but I basically rejigged it for 12 A's for artist tax themselves. Yeah, just in the music industry. Again, authentic, advantage, agile, attention, action, actualization, affiliates, accessible, audience, average, assets, aim. So take a screenshot, and before you basically release your music, sit down and ask yourself these questions, because I think they're really important for just because one thing, artists are moving at such a high pace, and and I've been in that position. You're listening to the 30th mix of a track and you're like, Jesus, I'm never going to get this thing out. I need to finish this. I can't even think about strategizing. But whenever the music is done, take a moment and just go through this, because really what you want to do is roll out. And like, for instance, one of the best planning campaigns, if you just look on the right hand side of the screen. This is Charlie XCX's kind of ethos for Brat. And I think one key thing when we talk about socials is that she had a key thing. I will throw a rave probably long before the album is out to tease new music. This should be the first thing I announce. I will play unfinished demos for the first time and have other collaborators who are working on the album DJ too. We will make edits, many edits. So she was thinking about how people would create content with her music. And this is 2023, and obviously Brat came out 2024. She wrote that in 2023 when working on the album. So that is the thing. If someone like Charlie X can be thinking about how her music is being consumed in a visual sense, you guys can too. Um, One last thing as well, just a really technical thing. Newsletters, CRM, message channel, customer relationship management. Um, Lots of people do. Substack can be an example of this, but an artist newsletter is a really powerful tool as well if you want to take it off social platforms. It can be basically a marketing or build a one-on-one connection with kind of people. For an artist newsletter, it's just basically like a mailer that you get. You can use like kind of MailChimp and all these different things. Also just examine like what the objective of a newsletter is. It's direct access. It can be, it's basically a one-way shop being like, hey, I'm releasing this music. I have gigs, I have merchandise. And when you're at that stage, it's really, really handy. Um, 5 tips for creating an effective newsletter. Just maintain a regular schedule, optimize for mobile devices as well. Again, they'll have all this kind of details in like stuff like MailChimp. Use clear, engaging subject lines, similar to social media. Respect your audience time. Don't, unless your thing is writing about long pieces about culture, which is completely valid, just, make sure aware that like a lot of people, if they get really long emails or bombarded with many, many emails from you, they'll probably like unsubscribe. And then also, offer special access or different things. And also something that is actually not replacing, but like works as a kind of newsletter thing on social media is actually broadcast channels for like Instagram. People are doing it on WhatsApp. So these are things to look at. Like Amble, artists have a really funny one that they were posting in Mad, but it was basically the behind the scenes stuff and stuff they wanted to share with fans, that they couldn't get anywhere else. So really, that is it, folks. It is a run through. If anyone would like to take any more screenshots, but now I'm going to open up if there's any questions at all about anything. Yeah, now is the time.
Cool. That was something else. Whoa. I forgot to ask my normal intro question, so I'm going to ask that now while people kind of like digest it. And that's Kieran, like me, you're LinkedIn. Like, like you're doing social media at Warner's. Like, you didn't suddenly arrive fully formed into Warner's office and be adopted by them. What were you doing before then?
So before working at Warner, I was a social behavior data analyst for Ogilvy and Wilson Hartnell. So that I was working with brands and Guinness to figure out like how people build communities. So like one of my clients was like Guinness, and I'd be like, oh, how do people consume Guinness in Nigeria versus Ireland versus the UK? So I did that for a couple of years, and then before that I was in Amsterdam working as like at a social media kind of talent agency thing. And then before that, I was in University of Limerick, going Limerick, and I was an intern at Conor na Gaeilge as well. So, but I'm from West Cork originally, and I was a musician through many of these things. So I understand the pain of putting yourself out there in social media, but the world's your oyster. So.
Nice. What you do? What did you do at UL, Kieran?
I studied Irish, English, and new media. But yeah, I at one point I wanted to be a great writer like yourself, Jim. But I think I think far too many spelling mistakes was the issue. But yeah, I studied and really great. I had a great time there.
Right. And what pulled you into kind of like this side of things then? Like what was the case of you being a musician and recognizing like there's a lot of stuff going on in this kind of in this sphere that you were curious about, or was it the case of I needed a job when I left college and this is where I ended up?
Well, I always wanted to work in the music industry because I think my main ethos was to help artists because I think really that was the main reason and even getting like anyway I similar to the amazing work that you guys do at First Music Contact, it was just to I love helping people create their vision and this is similar, even though like I kind of stepped away from music. This is kind of a creative output where we sit down with artists, we develop the strategy, we develop how to tell their story, and it was always the aim to do something in music, because I was absolutely obsessed, and the experiences actually as an artist. It's quite funny, made me want to do stuff like this more because I saw just the community we have here, and I was like, I figured, I would hopefully try and train myself to help as many artists domestically as possible. Oh,
Mm.
sorry, yeah, yeah.
Question coming in. There's a question here from Sophie.
Hey,
Wait.
Sophie.
Before we dip into them, Kieran, could I just ask you to just stop sharing your screen and we can just get back? Amazing.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, thanks.
A question, Sophie, about
Cool.
how important are hashtags and descriptions when posting to social media, when posting on social media music related content?
Um, I would say they're very important, but also in terms of clarity. So think about when you think of hashtags. So think about hashtags on social media as the algorithm trying to sort your content. So if you put hashtag rock, it's going to filter it to rock. So they are quite important. I would say even as equally important is the text overlay. So the text that you put on your video is really important. But also it's just really having clarity. There is movements now, like there's a great Instagram page that does football content called Versus, and they had a read their thing is now doing really long captions. But it's also just to whatever works for you and whatever the content is. If it's you playing, a live version of your song, I would probably have your text overlay, tell people what it is, get straight into it because they're going to be engaging with the music. They're important, but not the be all and end all. I would just make it clear that people can find it. Really, that's really what it is. Yeah, and the only time when they'd be super, super relevant if there's a trending topic that's in your video. Let's say if you made a song about heated rivalry, I would say hashtag heated rivalry, or something along those lines. I hope that answered your question, Sophie.
Right. There's another question earlier on as well, kind of like Kieran. It's just a matter of clarification. You were talking about genre pages or creative pages, and Ash is not too sure what you're exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah, so Ash, just on that. So these are genre pages are actually it's a phenomenon where artists are basically creating pages that aren't artist led. So they're still figuring out their feet, let's say on social media, and they're like, okay, I don't want to post my face or myself on social media, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post my music on a page that has no one knows who I am, but I'm gonna create content around it. Like for instance, we're talking, let's say if it's a film edit page, that would be a genre. So people are making edits of films and putting their music over it, or they'll do ones where they're anonymous, or they'll do one where they're posting sports kind of edits. And it's really what they're doing is, taking kind of like in like essentially stuff that people knows or a different interest and just putting their music over it for them to get used to it, really. So that would be genre content. It's basically when we talk about genre or creative pages, it's anything that is not an artist-led page that an artist is creating on.
True.
Hope that answered your question.
There's a question here as well, but I also want to pick up something you said during your presentation about Kieran. You talked about live videos. You talked about the need for live videos and how much it kind of like works really really well. That was something that came across at the management panel and at the kind of like the agent panel as well. It's like people are kind of going like, shows live video, just like so we can see what you look like, you see how you perform, and kind of but there's a follow up that then from Kate here. Question from Kate: do you have any tips for certain pieces of media that would help drive audiences to streaming platforms like Spotify more than others? Are there certain pieces of media you've seen in use that drive people towards kind of the likes of Spotify better than other pieces?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of like even the social media, one really simple one that I mentioned, is the CTA, like call to action, like, hey, it would mean the world if you would stream on this platform, and it's basically directing the audience and telling them how much it means to you. Another one in terms of music discovery, because people also putting yourself in the position of the fan is in terms of media, like for instance, an Instagram story with a link directly to Spotify. Let's say if you're sharing anything, just make sure you have a link directly to Spotify to make it really easy, particularly on your Instagram stories or TikTok stories or, bio in terms of that media. And even if you were very specific and you have an acoustic performance and you're saying at the end of it, you could literally just say like, hey guys, you know, please go stream my song and stuff like that. It's really simple of like just telling people where to go if they like the music. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but definitely Instagram stories in terms of those direct links, they are like amazing. They're like
Mhm.
it's really really good. Thanks very much there for your question, Kate. Other question here from Paulo, and it's do you truly believe that going viral nowadays is a good thing for an artist for or either song, considering that it may cause misunderstanding in meaning of lyrics or even artist positioning? That's a good question because I mean,
Mhm.
like there is that kind of vibe among kind of social media people that like going viral is a good thing, but sometimes dot dot dot.
Yes,
What do you think?
exactly. Well, I think even on that, and that's a great question, Paolo. We actually, our kind of ethos, or my personal ethos as a strategist would be, the aim first is to build community, not virality. That is the key point. That's really what social media is for. And if something goes viral, and even as artists, your job is to create the art. And your job is to be clear with your intention. Um, and whatever comes with it, it's having the right people and right things around it in terms of, dealing with that things. Going viral for many people can be a great thing. For other people, it cannot be, it might not be the best. But the key is whatever your aim as an artist is to, to get what the song is about out there in terms of something gets, my favorite is, Fontaine CC, I Love You, and people are making rom-com edits and stuff like that. And, it's couple stuff. But I think there is the cases I would focus on community rather than virality. And when if you did go viral for something that was a misunderstanding, use your own social platform as a point of clarity and your voice because that's your unedited voice. But yeah, virality can also bring a lot of positive stuff as well. But yeah, I hope that answered your question, Paula.
Very good. Kieran, just one kind of question I have for you. Basically, is I suppose there will be artists on this who are kind of thinking to themselves, I'm not sure about social media. When you work with artists at Warner's, how much convincing do you have to do? I'm already thinking like some acts come into you and they are all gung ho. This is what they already live it. They already are on the likes of Insta and TikTok. Other acts you might have to convince. How do you convince the acts who are not sure about it?
So I think the main thing in terms of convincing artists is firstly, every artist is an individual. Every artist has an individual kind of like aim and moniker and style. So for instance, we did stuff with Ed Sheeran at the Fla in Wexford. So working with Ed is very different to working with someone like Amble. So you really, when we get in terms of the social point of view, when we get the music, I'm not working in an A&R response, so I'm not developing the music. When I get it, I will sit down with an artist and I'm like, tell me what this music means, tell me what this vision is, and then we'll work around the artist and we'll have a chat through like, hey, are you comfortable with this content concept? Are you comfortable with this social idea? Are you comfortable with this collaboration? So it's meeting an artist where they are in terms of that visual. And then also when in part of my process, I'd listen to the music. Um, I'd listen to kind of like I'd have a look at like the bands on socials and then I would develop like opportunities from there and I would meet them. I always would meet them where I'm at. And usually it's a one-on-one session or it's a group session. And I'll come prepared with stuff. And it's not the case of, getting to say yes or getting to say no to content. It's just meeting them where they are. Because again, social media in terms of that is, it affects people's mental health in many ways. So we have to be extremely careful in terms of what content they're consuming as well. So it's just meeting them where they're at, where they're comfortable. And the main thing is to develop a strategy that lives up to the vision of the music, really, and bringing that music to as many people as possible via social media.
Cool. I missed a question earlier on here, Kieran. So it's one from Dean. And is it possible to get engagement, you reckon, without the use of social media? Or is social media now the main way of getting engagement? Are there any acts you've seen in Warner's who've basically kind of like, like shied away from kind of social and went for other ways to get engagement? Or is it really down to social these days?
Well, actually, there's a case of, and this is the live as well. It's you don't have to be on socials as an artist, but also someone should be putting your music out on socials, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
What you want is, I know there's a great the Irish producer from Donegal who has many monikers, wasn't on social media, and that was a thing. But his music was getting loads and loads of creations under it. And he did that through like really clever like labeling, but his story was really interesting. His story was on social media. So it's like if you want to be not on social media, that's also a unique selling point. Like I would hit up like the district magazines, the hot presses, all these different things and be like, hey, and like send them the music and be like, hey, I'm not on social media, but I'm doing this weird, unique thing. You know, but also and even if that's the case of it's not part of your ethos or moniker, there is no harm in being on social media, mostly as even a shop face. If you look at it in that way, it's where people can find and buy tickets. Word of mouth can have an important thing, but eventually it will go to socials if other people are talking about it or other people are recording. You don't have to be on it, but it is the first place people will search for you as an artist, as well.
I'm like one of the biggest Irish artists of all time, and one of the biggest artists on your label, Kieran, isn't on social, and that's Inya. I mean, like
Yeah.
there's a case in point. I mean, obviously, like she's thousands of years old, so she wasn't around with social. He predates social. But the thing is, there's someone that like there's a story. There is a buzz about around her on social, but like she doesn't engage with her whatsoever.
Exactly. And if you look at Enya, like for instance, we work obviously we're coming to St. Patrick's Day, we work a lot of Enya stuff. But what's amazing about Enya and blows my mind is that people have taken her music, and even though she's not on socials, they're using it to tell their story. And they're like, all I want to do is be like Enya and live in a castle in Ireland, or coming home after a long day and just throwing on some Enya, or Lord of the Rings fans. So the case is that comes back to that point of availability of making sure your music is there on social media for other people to find and use them to tell their own story. Because really, when someone chooses your sound, and I think it's a really important thing, is that people are choosing your sound to use on their content for a reason because they want to showcase they're a fan of you. They want to tell people, in their circle. Like again, when I find a song, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to share it on social media. I love this song. And I'm like, but in the back of my mind, it's like, well, I want people to know that I like this type of music and this is the type of person I am. And that's what fans want. So it's just making sure it's available there as well. And even if you're not on social media, it might be even cooler for people to share. Like, oh, this person isn't even on social media. You wouldn't know about them. So yeah.
Cool. So the question here, I think I know the answer to it, or rather, I think I know the answer that Priscilla will have about this. Do you do social media counseling for or consultations for artists? I'd love to get feedback on what's good, bad, or worth pursuing.
Unfortunately, I don't because I work with a record label, so that would be conflict of interest, and Warner may and Priscilla, my boss, may kill me. But there are some amazing kind of like creatives out there. I would actually, in that case, I would find someone you really like on social media, and just reach out to them and be like, hey, do you want to do something creative together? Do you want to? There's loads of amazing, like I know Dev Scheme, the creator, started her own agency, but there's loads of amazing people out there. But unfortunately, Warner Music would kill me. So yeah.
Priscilla will kill you. There's no doubt about that. Right.
Yeah.
Let's move swiftly on because I don't want to piss off Priscilla. There's a question here from Sophie, and it falls on something you said during the presentation as well, Kieran. And this is about kind of like, how often would you advise artists who are trying to get a name out there to be posting? Is weekly, daily, or is this down to how comfortable people are with stuff and how comfortable the audience is with stuff? You said something really interesting during the presentation. You were talking about newsletters, and you said in many cases that if it's a band, a long rambling sort of like, I mean, essay type thing mightn't work as well as something with a couple of links. But then there are certain artists, I'm thinking of one in particular, Pillow Queens, and their newsletter, they post out every fortnight. One of them writes it, and it's a long rambling diary piece, but it's really, really good because it brings you inside what the band are about.
Exactly. And that's the point of like even different, that's when we say there's no one way. Like, for instance, when I was chatting about that, it's, when you're being respectful of your audience's time, that is a really thoughtful piece. They put together 2 weeks and they've thought about it. And so the audience understands the language where they're like, oh, I'm signing up for 2 weeks because I want to get to know this band and I want to know what they're writing about. And I think that's a great, again, Pillow Queen's amazing. In terms of posting weekly, one thing I would say, I would maybe so if you look at who you are as an artist, are you an artist that feels comfortable, teasing demos or, playing the piano or, just posting it up and kind of, posting on a regular kind of freewheeling basis and demos and all that kind of stuff? Or are you an artist that when you're releasing a single, you have a set plan. This is your single. You're releasing a certain amount of cut downs. I think it's also the case of just figuring out what artists and what you feel comfortable. For instance, getting a release plan. I would also say like, posting once, when you're kind of releasing a song, posting once or twice a week is perfect because it's building up to a release. But maybe when you don't have a release coming up or you're in that in-between stage, that's when you can experiment. But I would, having 5 amazing posts that you've planned out can be far more impactful than just posting something random. A lot of artists scrub their socials or clean their socials, and then they'll come back with 2 or 3 really effective posts in lead up to a single.
Yeah.
Um, so it just depends on what artists like. Some artists will post, covers weekly, demos weekly. It's just really examining what type of artist you are. And I would look at like other bands like Florence Road, Wet Leg, Last Dinner Party. Look at what they're doing. Like, what are they doing when it's a release schedule versus not a release schedule? And if you're trying to get your name out there, like look at Amy Cardy, who, recorded a demo that blew up, and then she got a massive fan base. But it's really about you as an artist.
Mm. There's a couple of questions coming in about identity, but it makes me kind of think of something you alluded to during the presentation as well. And you were talking about Fontaine's DC and the campaign for romance, and it's very, very clear that it was very stylized. It was very much clear that it was loud. It was Charlie XCX brat like neon. They were dressing in a certain way they hadn't dressed like before. Do you think as well that like the audience these days are a lot more visually aware? I mean, like compared to say, I mean, back in the day when you were in UL, for example, and you were hanging out in
Mhm.
Castle Troy, like me, what like that sort of those sort of visual clues they weren't as kind of obvious as they are now. It strikes me that like me on like nowadays people are so visually aware. I look at people's Insta feeds and it's just like wow, it might be curated, but visually it's very very smart. So that whole thing around identity as well seems to be much more of a kind of a case for people to be looking at.
Absolutely. And that's a really great point. I think also it's visually striking, but also authentic. And that's the key because again, there's a generation of kids who've grown up, obviously I'm an old guy, but it's even the case of, they've grown up with social media adverts. And, that's the thing. They've been fed social media adverts since, they've been around. And it's that thing of you want something that is one, going to grab their attention. Two, they know is a real artist and an artist proposition. And three, they're like, what is this? That's really all you're doing. You want literally to build something that's intriguing. whether it's the sound of a like the music. Because imagine as well, like for instance, we all, if we have Instagram here, you go into your Explore page or you have TikTok, you go into FYP. What is the image that's gonna, strike you and stand out? Or even when you're scrolling, it's giving you recommended content. Having that little visual cue or that little moment or that setting, just strikes a little bit. You want them to delay. I think it's what, like 1.5 seconds that people make the decision to stay or scroll. You just want to delay their decision making that little bit more. Um, and I think, yeah,
1.5 seconds, that's a lot.
yeah, exactly. It is a lot. Maybe it's less. Maybe it's zero point 0.5. But it's yeah, just even to be kind of clear. And also, I see you can see. Sorry, and even just to add that with terms of visual, do you think there's a point where everyone's going to
Yeah.
visualize them as normal adverts? I think even like again, when people ask about adverts and stuff like that, I think just focus on you can have different things where let's say my single's out now is a cut down and you can have you singing as an artist. I think also with adverts, figuring out what works for you organically first before you put money into it is a very important thing before you spend. Try this and try and build organic because the kind of one of the algorithmic rules written about TikTok is that adverts may get you views, but or going viral organic will get you engagement and followers. So yeah.
Okay, that's excellent. I mean, there's like a ton of there's tons and tons of stuff in that. I mean, I thought the first half an hour was fantastic, but the last like nearly 17 minutes as you're going through the questions as well and just adding to it, it's kind of embellishing it. So if there's no more questions from folks right now, there's no more questions coming in, is there, Stevie?
No, I think you've covered everything. It's been
Covered everything. You've
brilliant.
been really, like Kieran, you've been really generous with your time and your insights. I mean, like, there's a lot coming out of that, and we can tell there is just by the kind of like the volume of questions that are coming in. So we really, really appreciate that. Like, means it's always a pleasure to have you on board. There's a question coming in from Indigo Violets. This is going to be the one that's going to bring it all home. Go on, Indigo Violets, hit us. If you only unmute yourself and talk, please do.
Yeah, I just want to say, Stevie and Jim, thanks very much for the last 4 nights. I've been a Jim. If you and Dave Fanning ever go for pints, I want to be there. Okay.
We bring Kieran along. Kieran speaks as fast as I do. Indigo, man, look, he speaks as fast as I do.
But yeah, thanks very much, and Kieran, that was a great presentation. My question is, with artists, I suppose, I'm not like putting content on social media. Does it dilute their music? And I'm going to say, like, to explain a bit of my question here is, so like the likes of, say, I'm going to say a big influencer or a big TikTok star is like Garen Noon, and he started out with Garen Noon music. So his starting point was, I want to be a musician, right? But a little bit of content took off for him, and it went in a different trajectory. But my thing is that can happen to every artist. So, so what? Like, there has to be a balance between content that you're kind of like, having a laugh on the internet and actually showcasing your art. Because at the end of the day, if you're a musician, it's just about your music.
Yeah, hugely. And even on that, so on one of the slides of the pillars, we have the kind of idea of bring it back to the music. Because even with Garen, and like, Garen is a fantastic singer and really, really talented, but also he made a clear decision to do like food reviews, to delve into that world as an interest. You as an artist, you can, in that case, you can decide singularly music is going to be the focus of what I'm trying to lead everyone to. And that can be your content strategy. You can have like personal bits, but I think even it's a decision that every artist has to make in terms of their social presence. If you are singularly, and a lot of artists do this, so they'll have, let's say, a band page and they'll be like, just music goes on that. That is just music. And then they'll have a personal page where they're having more messing around. And then, if that does well, they'll be like, oh, I'm in a band. Did you know I'm in a band? I completely agree in having that balance of the personality and the music stuff. But for us, when we obviously work with, a record label, our emphasis is always having the really premium assets or the really premium focus on the music, and particularly on the music, either acoustic versions, using your own sound on social media as well. Because if that's your aim, the personality content can be great, but I think it's like exactly like you said, I would look at it as in a phase when you've built up your music where you feel you are known as a musician, then you can lean a bit more into the personality stuff. Because sometimes, like you said with Garen, it can be the other way, where he started as a musician, he was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to try this concept bit. Then he becomes, a creator in a sense. So that was a decision by Garen to go that route. Whereas if you just focus on the music, and it's so tempting because the personality stuff does go viral easier, but the music stuff can, if you are completely focused on being a musician, staying with the music stuff and integrating kind of your creativity and creative ways to promote the music can lead to more success as a band or an artist. I hope that answered your question.
But yeah. It kind of clarifies it because I do see it's a very a conflict. Even Lewis Capaldi once said, he goes, somebody came up to him and said, "Oh, I love your TikToks," but said nothing about his music. Didn't even know that he was a musician, and he was like, I'm after creating all this music, but like I do a few stupid TikToks and make people laugh, and then that's what they remember me for.
Exactly. But also the case is that Lewis did that in such a way that he had, I think for 2017 on, he had released he released the Bruises EP, he released, singles and stuff. So he actually had kind of built it up to the point where they're like, okay, we might need an extra little bit of social traction. Do you want to, you have a really good personality. Do you want to do that? So it was a nice blend where he had his music house in order and he had his kind of gigs rolling in and then he utilized it. But that's also the case. It's a really good point because you don't want to singularly be known for like, comedic TikToks in a way. You obviously want to be known artist and musician led first, but there's a point where stuff that can be a happy medium, and it is towing that line for where you feel comfortable as an artist as well. And also it can be different between like a band dynamic and a solo artist, as well, where you have different kind of dynamics and different things as well. But yeah, I think it's, get your music in order and then you can lean into that stuff when you need like a little bit of extra traction and you're ready. And once you have the music ready to roll as well.
Okay, thanks very much, Kieran. Make sure
No,
you give us a follow on Instagram,
I will.
indigovoice.ie.
Cheers, bud. Will do.
Thanks, folks. That was great. Just one thing before we finish. If you want to take any of the stuff that's in the chat, best thing to do is just copy and paste everything's in the chat so you have it there as well. There's some names and some stuff. Monica's just kind of saying as well, giving the address of the Leash Arts office as well, telling people to get in touch. That's Monica and also Murin as well. So that'd be well worth getting in touch, keeping that there as well. We will be back with the second run of workshops on the week beginning Monday, the 30th of March. So stay tuned for more details on that. So again, massive thanks to Ciarán. Like it's always a joy to hear from Ciarán, the best lad in West Cork to do these things. Brilliant lad. So I'm gonna hand it back to Stevie because Stevie can bring us all home. Stevie, over to you.
Yeah, nice
Thanks,
one,
folks.
Jim. And thanks again, Ciarán. Yeah, it was a lovely way to end this week of panels. Yeah, as Jim said, we'll be back on the 30th with another round of panels. I'm going to send out an email to everyone tomorrow, a couple of emails tomorrow with some details about that, and importantly, another survey for you all to do, and that's going to really go towards this music plan that we talked about. So it's an important survey. So take a look at that, fill it out. It won't take long. And then, yeah, we'll be back on the 30th for some more panels. So keep an eye on your emails. I'll be in touch. I'll send on the details and we'll be up and running again in no time. So thanks again so much to Monica and Murin in the arts office for hosting us.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jim.
Stevie.
Yeah, no worries.
Fantastic. Yeah,
No worries at
really well
all.
done.
And thanks, Jim. Great hosts every
Thank you.
night. Yeah, I think that's us. Thanks, everyone.
And just remember as well, people, that on the second week as well, you'll get your chance to contribute as well to what we want to hear from musicians from the Leash area about what they want to see in the music plan. So that's your time to kind of like talk to Muireann and to Monica on that one. So that'll be part of the second run. But the big thanks to the other man in the brown jumper, different brown jumpers. We didn't realize we were both wearing brown jumpers. We also didn't realize we both had orange wristwatches on. Thanks to Stevie. He's the kind of like the mega lad on all this. He's the kind of like the basically the guru of all this. He's a very calm guy, and massive thanks to him because he has sorted all out these logistics. He is the Yogi Bear of this operation.
Nice one, Jim. Okay, thanks so much, everyone. Have a lovely night, and I'll chat to you all soon.
Okay.
Have a good
Thank
weekend, lads. See you.